Hello, everybody. Today I will be grooming a Shih Tzu mix named Toby. I'm going to show you him before. He's not matted that much. I mean, he has a couple mats like in his legs and ears, but his owner requested short, so I am starting him on a number 5. Well, I will be grooming him with a number 5 blade. This is a very basic groom. He hasn't been groomed in a long time. As you can tell, his hair is really long. But the texture of his hair doesn't really get matted. He just needs a haircut because it's going into the warmer months and his owner wanted him to have his hair cut. This guy is um, what I would call an average when it comes to behavior. He is pretty good. He doesn't try to bite at all, so that's always a good thing. For his haircut, as you can see, he just stays there and gets his hair done. He doesn't really have any objections to the hair cutting on his body. So I know I haven't done a video in about maybe a week and a half. That's just because I am also a student and I'm taking 2 really higher up courses right now. So that takes a lot of my time after work. So I don't really have the time to edit the video, which can take a lot of hours. But today I'm pretty much caught up on my schoolwork, so I decided, I'll do a video, and here we are. And Toby decided that he was the one that was going to be filmed. No, he didn't decide. I'm just being silly. It's like, we're going to throw her in a mental institution. She thinks that dogs are making decisions for her. No, I don't. I'm just being silly. So I decided on Toby because he has a lot of overgrowth. I've done a lot of dogs that on the channel that were really matted. So I wanted to do a video of a dog that wasn't matted but still overgrown. And a lot of times when dogs are overgrown, they will have build up around their eyes or their rear ends. This dog did not have any of that. His owners took really good care of him. His hair was just long. I was actually really amazed at how clean his face was. Because I'm used to uh, even dogs that are well maintained, they usually have some sort of gunk on their face, and this guy had none whatsoever. So he's loved and he's taken care of. I mean, you can have a dog that has a lot of hair and stuff, and it's not neglectful unless that hair um, gets really matted, and because that could be uncomfortable, and if it gets severe enough, it can actually cut off circulation in the limbs, the legs, the ears, the tail, anything really. And if the mats get tight enough, they can actually cut into the skin and cause sores, or they can do minimal damage. When the dog is matted, it'll pull the mats pull at the skin and can cause uh, bruises and just overall uncomfortable situation for the dog. So you're just gonna want to make sure that if you want to keep your dog long, that's fine. If you don't have the money to get their hair cut on a regular basis, you can at least make sure that they're not matted at home. And then when you feel like bringing the dog somewhere to get a haircut, then bring it in and we'll get it done. That trash can was super full. I did take it out at the end of the day. I just emptied the vacuum cleaner into it, so it had so much hair in it. But I took it out at the end of the day instead of while I was working, because that's end of the day stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and talk about taking the trash out. But let's see. Just going to do the legs. I am doing a pre-shave on this guy because, not because he's matted, but because he was so long. Uh, I just didn't really feel like washing all that hair and then drying it. So yeah, when I opened up the video, I wanted everybody to see that the dog was not matted. So that's why I did the before video. And look at him. He is really interested in everybody that's coming in. So I had to keep repositioning him to look, or at least angle his body towards me so I can get the front of his body done. Since this is a voiceover, I cut out all the sounds because there was so much barking in the background when I groom in the back here, and that's just very distracting and, quite frankly, really annoying when you're trying to put out an educational video. Nobody wants to sit and listen to an hour of dogs barking, I'm sure. At this time, they haven't even arrived yet, or they are being bathed or something, but they're not here, not there just yet. But these dogs, they're bigger dogs, and they have big barks. And there was more than one of them. I think practically all the big dogs back there were barking at some point today. And also, there's a little Yorkie over there that is whining and barking as well, because he does not want to be in his little kennel. But anyway, I'm going to do his head. I started off with a number 3F blade because I wasn't sure how long it was going to keep the top of his head, but I ended up using a 4 overall after when I finished because I went back in the computer and looked at his notes, and it said that it was done in a 4 blade, so that's why I switched it. I was like, oh, the 3 blade will work because it's 2 links longer than the 5 blade. That's like a rule of thumb. If you do a 5, you're going to do a 3 for the head. It's like 2 links up. Ideally, I don't like using blades on the head at all, but that's what the owner wanted it really short. So we do what the owner wants. I like to use the guard combs in reverse because I just think it makes it look better. It's a personal preference. Obviously, if you're a groomer or whatever, or and you like using blades, it's fine. See, like I said, you can see here that he does not have any buildup on his eye, under his eyes. That's just hair right there. So I scoop out the hair right there in between his eyes and in the corner of his eyes. And then I do his sanitary. So much hair down there. I'm using my big clippers because I brought my small clippers home to groom Kenji. And I'm not quite done grooming Kenji yet, so I just have not brought him back to work. The the uh, the corded clippers do just as good of a job as the cordless clippers. They're a little heavier, but they still get the job done. I'm trying to make him stand up because he wants to sit down and get away from me holding his tail. That's what he's doing there. Dogs are funny about their tails and hind ends being messed up. He gets a little pat. I'm gonna be a good boy. Now on to the other fun things. Look at the one little mat in his ear. Actually, it's one big mat, not one little mat. So I am going to, um, what I'm doing is filling his ear because I want to know where the end of his ear is so I don't accidentally cut his skin. And it was pretty thick, so I'm pulling it apart a little bit with my fingers just to make sure. And with uh, and there it is. Anyway, pull it apart with my skin and put my thumb and my finger in between the mat and his skin. So when I did cut it, I didn't accidentally cut into his ear. So it was like, I figured while I had the scissors in my hand, I just go ahead and trim the bulk of the hair off his ears because I was going to cut his ears, the hair off his ears anyway. He didn't have a big mat in that ear, so um, just trim it around. I'm not trying to be perfect or anything. I'm just trying to get the bulk of the hair off. which is what I'm doing by the priest shaving. So we're going to clip his little toenails. Doing pretty good so far. But that doesn't last very long. This is where he gets a little, I'm not going to say nervous. He wasn't nervous. He was just didn't like it. And therefore, he's going to start pulling. I'm not pulling his leg. He's doing all the pulling. He's going to try to pull it back every time I clip a nail. Now he's going to get up and see if that makes me stop trimming his nails. So I just let him work through it and make sure he doesn't get overly pulling. You know what I mean? Anyway, making sure he doesn't hurt himself while he's doing the pulling. And then I stop momentarily if he does start to get too worked up. I just want to see what I'm doing. I decided to go from behind to see if that helped. It did not help. He is going to keep pulling whether he can see me or not. Here we go. Moment. Help for a minute, and then he's like, you're trimming my nails. I know what you're doing. I'm going to pull my foot. I'm trying to get my foot away from you so you'll stop doing something that I don't like. That is what he is trying to do. He is not being aggressive. He is not trying to bite. I know sometimes it might look like he's trying to, but he's not. After you get in this business for as long as I have, been 19 years now, you can tell if the dog is trying to bite you or not. I know a lot of groomers will just go straight to the muzzle if the dog's face gets anywhere near their hand or whatnot. I'm not going to say that that's a bad idea because it's not. But if you can read a dog's body language you can tell if they're going to bite at you, or if they're serious about it, or if it's just like little warning bites. There's a difference. There's a huge difference between a please stop doing that bite and a I mean it bite. You know what I mean? Um, if if I read the dog and it's giving me side-eyed and it's trying to back up and it's growling and its hair is standing up, muzzle that dog. But if they're just being like, stop doing that, and then they're just looking at you, but they're not showing any signs of aggression, you ain't got to muzzle that. 95% of the dogs I groom, I do not muzzle. And the ones I do have to muzzle is usually just for clipping the toenails. I can live with that. If they're too aggressive, I'll send them home. Especially if you put a muzzle on and they start flopping around or screaming or overall their heart is going, um, that can spell disaster, either for you or even for the dog. So you just got to know when to say this isn't safe anymore. Handling is everything when you're grooming a dog. If you're picking legs up too high, if you're picking up feet too high, if you're letting the dog do whatever it wants, these are all dangerous things. You cannot let the dog do whatever it wants. You can't let it just um, run around everywhere, um, because it could jump off the table. It could hurt himself. Um, I know sometimes to the average pet owner it might look like being a little rough, but I'm being firm because if the dog is starting to do something that could be potentially unsafe, I'm going to correct the dog just to make sure that he stays safe. Like, if, for instance, if I'm clipping toenails and the dog starts trying to lick at the toenail clippers, I will put a finger up, usually in front of his face. It might look like I'm flicking him or something. I'm not flicking him, I'm just putting the finger up there to protect his nose and his tongue from going into the clippers. That's just an automatic reflex that I have to keep um, the animal on my table safe. Safety is my number one priority. I have had a dog pass away on my table before, um, and I don't want anybody to go through that kind of thing. It wasn't anything I did. Uh, the dog wasn't being unsafe. His heart stopped. He was literally sitting there one minute, and the next minute he was down. But anyway, some things that that happened last year, actually, over a little over a year ago now. Yeah, very sad situation. Very difficult situation to go through, not only for the dog's owner, but for me too. I had never lost a dog before that, and it took 18 years for it to happen once. It's not a very common thing. Anyway, we're going to do his pads. He had mats in between the pads of his feet, and he's not liking his pads being shaped either. Just it's a foot thing. Dogs and their feet, something about them makes them, they just do not like it. There's something really satisfying about getting those mats out from between the pads. And when you have a really nice blade and it just slides right through those mats, and those mats are just gone, and you have a smooth licking foot afterwards is just so satisfying. See how smooth that is? I'm weird. But honestly, for a dog that has mats in between his toes and his pads and stuff, it's just really uncomfortable. It's like, imagine you're barefoot and you're outside walking in rocks or walking on top of a rock. That does not feel good. That hurts. Maybe it's not quite that painful, but it's still very uncomfortable for the dog. We're gonna Dremel, continue with the fighting over the feet. This is literally the only thing he did during the entire groom that was misbehaving. It's like, I'm gonna pull this away. I'm gonna try to go over. That didn't work. Okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. Turned him around. Now do that last front foot. Hold on, buddy. We're almost to the finish line with these nails. And the entire foot in general. He's like, oh, please stop it, lady. He's like, stop. I just told him to stop. And he can't hear me anymore. Stop. See, I see stuff like it's. I just go automatically. Stop, please. It's like, oh, for the love of God, please stop pulling your legs. There's one of the loud dogs, the shepherd in the cage right there. I'm gonna cry and bark. Time to take a bath. So today I am using Oxymed shampoo by Tropiclean. I had already mixed it up before I got this guy in the tub. We're going to start off, wet them down with warm water. Turn around to the other side. And then we're going to put the shampoo on them after we do that. So our mixed up shampoo is right by the tub within arm's reach. Make sure he's really wet. Bottle is completely full. I just filled it and it's warm and it's ready to go. I do a double bath in the shampoo with every dog I groom, regardless if they feel clean or not. I still do it. If they're dirtier than usual, I sometimes do a third bath or even a fourth one. It really just depends on how dirty the dog is. But a double bath usually does a trick for most dogs, unless they've been outside rolling in mud for the last 3 days or something. Usually, double bath does the trick. He's a good boy. Just turn him around. Keep going. My heater just kicked on. It's a little chilly outside right now, so I have to have the heater. Squirted everywhere on his body, even for this second bath. And now just make sure that it's everywhere. Rub it in. And then rinse it off. Pretty straightforward. Um, and if you've watched my previous videos and are not, if you have not, the reason I did not do anal glands is because I only do them upon owner request. There are some groomers that do anal glands to every single dog. There are some that don't do it to any dog. And then there's me. If the owners want the glands done, then I'll do them. At no charge. I do not charge extra to do the anal glands. It's literally just a couple squeezes. Does not take that long, and it can be a little icky if you're not used to it. I am. It's not a big deal for me. Been squeezing butts for 19 years. That sounds really weird. It's like, just poorly describe what you do for a living. I'm a professional butt squeezer. And they'll be like, what? What do you mean? I groom dogs. And sometimes I do anal glands. And he has squeezed the butt. Anyways, as Medea would say, let's dry. I'm gonna dry myself off first. It's just how I roll. Maybe you like my pretty white towels. Keep going, make sure that he's nice and towel dried. Nothing. I typically dry them with a towel until nothing is dripping off of them. And depending on my mood and what I feel like doing, I'll either dry them in the tub or I will dry them on the table. Today I decided to do the drying in the tub. There's a nice shot of my two little coworkers. Anyway, so now we're just going to dry them off most of the way, and then later on I'll put them in the kennel to uh, dry under a fan for a little while I work on my next doggy. And that's how a groomer usually does it. We schedule them in such a way where one is drying, we can be working on another one. At least that's how I do my scheduling. If I do a one-on-one, then that means everybody has to be completely hand-dried, and sometimes dogs just don't let you completely dry them. With the high velocity dryer. If you have a stand dryer, that would be different, but we don't have one of those. We don't do show grooms. We don't do a bunch of stretch drying. Stretch drying is heat drying with a stand dryer when you're brushing. We don't do a lot of that. We do a lot of pet grooms that get really um, short haircuts. So there's really no need to invest in that um, expensive equipment when you're not ever going to really use it. We live in a little small town in Kentucky, so easy maintenance cuts for these pets. Not a lot of people in the area where I work want to brush their dog all the time. But they still want something cute, so they'll get a little Shih Tzu, and then they'll want the cute little face, and then just a short body. So it still looks like a cute little poochie, and um, it's just easier to maintain that way for them. Dogs are still cute, but they're also comfortable. And then they can go roll in the mud after their parents pay for their grooming, which I'm sure a lot of them do. Outside, oh, dirt! I just got a bath. Let's go roll in the mud. Ooh, just lifting him up by his back end, the same way I do when I lift up the front legs to get to his belly. Sometimes I'll lift up the back end to get his to the dog's underside of the front. Same concept, just different angle. To get him to stand up. It is kind of odd to watch this and not hear the sound of the dryer, to be honest. Maybe once I get into editing better, I can leave some of the background sound in it, but it's just really loud. So as of right now, I'm just gonna cut out the sound completely, and then just talk to you guys as I'm watching the video back. When I did the editing, this is just a bunch of small videos like combined, and so I'm getting to where I can cut out like me putting on headphones and stuff like that, stuff that you don't really want to sit through because it's boring. Um, because I just got this software a few weeks ago, so I'm gonna learn as I go. But I think I got it pretty good as far as putting all the smaller videos together. This guy is paying for teeth brushing. So we have a canister of toothbrushes, one side for clean, one side for dirty. And then we have the toothpaste there. So I am going to do it on camera this time. I usually don't film this because it's just literally me putting a toothbrush in a dog's mouth. So, yep, that's all you're paying for when you ask your groomer to brush their teeth. This. We literally just put the toothbrush in their mouth and brush their teeth. We do not do teeth cleaning like a vet does. That's it. That's all we do. All right, time for finishing. He's all dry. He is getting the number 5 on his body. So I'm just going to go over him. And make sure that any hairs that got missed during the pre-shave are trimmed and even everywhere. So that's it. That's all we do. Like, that's gonna be my new catchphrase. That's it. That's all we do. I did clean his ears off camera because I forgot to film it. Oh well, it's okay. Because these little hairs sticking out from his back leg. I'm like going through my entire list of songs there because everything that Amazon wanted to pick today, they wanted to pick a bunch of songs that were awful for some reason. I usually just let them pick the songs for me, but today I was just skipping and skipping and skipping a lot. Stop playing that kind of music. It's like I know what the problem was because I looked up a band um, this weekend just to see if they were any good or if I liked them. Turns out I did not. And now Amazon Music thinks I want that kind of music to be played now. So there's always a downside to stuff. It's like now I got to thumbs down all the songs so it'll get through its mind once I play this Elvis song, and it just thinks that I want to play nothing but Elvis and his friends from back in the day. It's like, jeez. I still like the music that I regularly listen to. Anyway, to the puppy dog. It's really a basic groom. Go with the green with the number 5. This is what the majority of dog groomers do, day in and day out. This is our life right here. Most of the dogs that we groom are not bad. They typically act similar to this guy here. They have their areas where they're like, please don't do that. Usually for feet. But this is the normal dog behavior for most pets that get groomed. We have people asking, "Oh, do you get bit a lot? Does this happen? What do you do if a dog bites you?" It's like, let him bite you. Uh, what do I do if a dog bites me? What do you expect me to do? Eat him up? No. You. Well, first of all, you have to. I don't know how to say this. You can't really train yourself how to do it unless you get bit a lot. And I'm not going to say that um, it's a good idea to try to get bit a lot so you can practice because that's stupid. Um, but the best thing to do when you have a dog that bites you is not to pull away. I know that sounds dumb, but most dogs are not going to uh, latch on or really attack you. They'll probably just bite once, maybe twice, and then move on with their lives. So if you pull away while the dog's teeth are still on you, then you're you're gonna make the bite worse and it'll rip your skin more. So try to stay calm, which is really hard. And then once the dog, once you are away from the dog or whatever, wash it out with soap and water. Depending on how bad the bite is, you might need a doctor. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to need one. Um, so basically, just wash it out with soap and water. If you feel it's unsafe to continue the groom, then send the dog home. If you feel you can safely finish and just muzzle the dog, then do that. It really just depends on uh, kind of really just depends on how you're feeling about it. Because if the dog can bite you bad enough to where you need to go to the doctor, then you're probably just going to need to send that dog home. But as far as losing your temper with the dog, I've never done that when a dog has bitten me. So just sometimes bites happen, but it doesn't happen that often. Personally, and the 19 years I've been grooming, I've never been bitten to the point where I needed to seek medical attention. Um, Usually just wash it off, soap and water, maybe some peroxide, Neosporin, maybe a band-aid, depending on how bad the bite is. When I worked for a corporate salon, there was a one bite where it went through my thumb where they made me go to their little clinic, but it wasn't really necessary. Nothing that they could do. It was my thumbnail. But no, really the only thing to do when a, a dog bites you is try to um, safely get the dog off of you, put the dog away, clean out the bite, send the dog home, or depending on how you're feeling, if you can finish safely, then finish. It really just depends. There's no one set way to how to deal with a dog that bit you. Just make sure to clean out that wound because you do not want it to get infected. This dog is funny with his head. He keeps looking around and there's nobody back. So I have to keep turning him back around. That can get a little frustrating. I told you to do this. It's like when you tell a kid 5 times to do something and they still don't do it. That kind of frustrating. Yeah, I think somebody actually is walking in the door. Yep. Oh, it's Remy. She old girl. Her her owner has another dog and she's kind of hysterical, trying to figure out how to keep the dog's head still while he scissor it because he wants to keep looking at everybody. Like, okay, calm down. He's gone. Trim up his little feet, tops of his feet. I've already done his pads. Lift up all the hair and trim around it. Trim around his feet. Why he keeps looking at? Maybe it's the other dogs. Because I don't think there's anybody back there at this point. But yeah, he was very interested. People coming in or something. Maybe he's just paying attention to the other dogs or something. This is distracting. Any sticky outies on the belly, I scissored off. And I'm going to keep on trimming his feet, the tops of his feet. And then we'll move on to in between the back legs. I like to pick up one leg in order to work on the other because it usually keeps the dog still and keeps the leg and foot on the table. Do the other side. Blending the tail down a little bit before I trim it. Now time to brush out that tail. Brushy, brushy, brushy. He doesn't have any mats on his tail. And his tail isn't super long, so I didn't trim it before the bath. So I'm just going to trim it up a little bit. Run the comb through, make sure that there are no tangles in there that were missed. Now I'm going to trim it. Making sure it's even. To the other side, make sure it's even over there as well. And underneath. Stand up, little buddy. Comb it outwards and then trim the tip off. Clean up any hairs around him, his legs or tail, just to make sure that nothing sticks out where it's not supposed to. And he's all done. Look at how sweet and happy he looks. There his after shot on the side, his tail, give a little spritz, and he's ready to go home. All right, here he is. And here comes his before and after pictures. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more grooming videos. Have a great day.